Okay, you know the drill. You land on some new website, and instead of trying to remember another password you're just going to forget anyway, you see it, that beautiful, simple button, Log in with Google. It's so easy, right? One click, and you're in. But what actually happens in that split second after you click? That's what we're going to dig into.
Yeah, that's the big question, right? We're getting all this convenience, but what are we trading for it? To figure that out, some researchers did something pretty cool. They built a system to automatically log into thousands of the world's top websites, just to watch and see where our data actually ends up.
All right, before we dive into what they found, let's get on the same page with one key term, PII. It stands for Personally Identifiable Information. Basically, it's anything that can point directly back to you. We're talking your name, your email, even that unique ID number Google or Facebook gives your account. It's like your digital fingerprint. And that's the prize. That's what's on the line here. Okay, so with that defined, these researchers basically went on a massive digital manhunt. They followed the data trail from that one simple click all the way across the internet's top 10,000 websites. They wanted to see who or what was grabbing a copy of your personal info. And let me tell you, what they found was, well, it was a bit shocking. So let's start with the first big, jaw-dropping number they uncovered. 30.1%. Just let that sink in for a second. That number represents a huge privacy problem. But what does it actually mean for you? Let's break it down.
It means that nearly 1/3 of the time you hit that super convenient login with Google button, the website you're on is just leaking your personal info. And not just keeping it for themselves, they're sending it off to all these other companies you've probably never even heard of, and you definitely didn't give permission to.
And look, this isn't just a Google thing, though they are definitely the worst offender here. Facebook's leak rate is a pretty hefty 16.6%. But yeah, this data shows that using Google to log in makes it almost twice as likely that your personal data is getting passed around.
Now, we're not talking about a small-time leak. The researchers found that personal info from Google logins was getting sent to 263 different, unique third-party companies. So think about that. Your data isn't just going to one extra place. It's being broadcast out, like on a radio signal, to this massive, invisible network.
So the question is, how is this even possible? I mean, it's not like the website has a big pop-up that says, hey, just so you know, we're sharing your email with a bunch of strangers. No, this is all happening in the shadows, through these hidden technical back channels that most of us would never ever see.
And this table shows us the different escape routes your data takes. I mean, it can be stuffed right into the web address you see in your browser bar, or it can be hidden in cookies, or passed along in something called a refer header. And sometimes it's sent in plain, readable text, and other times it's scrambled up a bit with stuff like base64 or a SHA-256 hash.
But this is the part that really gets me. For both Google and Facebook logins, more than 80% of the sites that were leaking data were sending it in simple, plain text. That is absolutely wild. It's the digital version of writing your most personal secrets on a postcard and dropping it in the mail for anyone to read instead of, putting it in a sealed envelope.
And it's not always a straight line from A to B. A lot of the time, your data takes a little detour. You can see it here. You log into website.com, but instead of your info going directly to some tracking company, it first gets sent to this intermediary, this middleman, and then that middleman passes it along.
Yeah, these middlemen are involved in about 40% of the leaks from Google logins. You can think of them as data collection hubs. They gather up all this personal info from tons of different websites, and then they blast it out to even more trackers. It just multiplies the exposure and makes it next to impossible to figure out where your data has gone.
Which of course leads to the next big question. Who are all these companies? Who are these hundreds of entities on the other end just waiting to scoop up our personal data? Who is actually doing the watching?
Well, you probably won't be shocked to hear that a massive slice of this pie is the advertising industry. When you use Facebook to log in, almost 42% of the companies getting your personal info are straight-up advertisers and trackers. Their whole game is to build a super detailed profile on you so they can follow you around the web with targeted ads. And here's a plot twist I bet you didn't see coming. You might think, okay, if I use Google, at least my data stays in the Google world. Nope. These ecosystems are not walled off from each other. The study found dozens of websites sending your Google login info straight to Facebook's network. And it works the other way too. Use your Facebook login and your data can still end up with Google. It's all one big interconnected web.
Okay, I know this all sounds pretty grim, maybe even a little overwhelming. But it is not a lost cause. There are things we can do. So let's talk about the rules that are supposed to protect us and the tools we can use to start taking back some control.
Right. And the first thing probably popping into your head is, hold on a second. Isn't this illegal? I mean, we hear about these big privacy laws all the time, right? Like GDPR in Europe or the CCPA in California. Surely they're supposed to stop this kind of thing.
Well, the researchers wondered the exact same thing, so they tested it. They ran their scans pretending to be users from Germany and California, places with strong privacy laws. And the leakage kept happening. To give you an idea, for Google logins, more than 3/4 of the leaky sites in Japan were also leaking data when they pretended to be logging in from California. So yeah, the laws exist, but this is still going on.
And this quote from the research paper really hits the nail on the head. The problem is that our consent is implicit. You know that little box that pops up? It says, Google will share your name and email with the website you're visiting. What it doesn't say is that the website is then going to turn around and pass that info along to a bunch of other random companies. It's a total lack of transparency.
So what can you actually do? Well, the good news is the study confirmed that some tools really do work. Things like privacy-focused browser extensions, the ones that use block lists like Easy Privacy, are super effective. They can literally stop these third-party requests dead in their tracks, so your data never even has a chance to leave your computer.
Which brings us back to where we started, and leaves us with one last question to chew on. That login with Google button, it sells you a moment of pure convenience. But if your personal data is the product being bought and sold in the background, you really have to ask yourself, what is that one single click truly buying?